Hi guys, Purix here. There's a lot of hype for Shadowlands features being announced at Blizzcon. Don't forget all the hype for BFA and how that turned out. We need to keep giving Blizzard a message on where we want the game to go. Classic gave us an insight of what makes WoW great, but there's very little clear message from the community on what that means for retail. Here, I'm just going to give my opinions and what I think about the direction for the game design needs to go in. Anyway, I'm sure Blizzard learned from our feedback that mission tables are boring. There won't be any in Shadowlands, like in the Covenants, right?
No, God! No, God, please, no!
So, my first point is community interaction. Classic achieves this so well by forcing player interaction in all its areas. It's what makes MMOs special, and making new ways to make the community interact in game more moving forward will be a big step. Class rotations, gameplay and fantasy is so important in WoW's current theme park design as well, where your enjoyment directly relates to the gameplay experience you're currently having. Each spec and activity should have a slightly different rotation and feel to add variety. Removing good abilities has a negative impact too, but it seems Blizzard is trying to improve on bringing back abilities in Shadowlands, according to the deep dive panels at Blizzcon recently. In my opinion, even bad abilities like Netherland's Fury are good, because they're another tool to think about using in the rare situation. As for questing, bringing back attunements to make questing challenging and relevant at endgame, and make parts of it in the old world to reduce wasted content. It's better to play in the world, not in the patch. With the changes to leveling that are coming in Shadowlands, new players will be seeing endgame content faster, which makes the game even more aligned on only using the current patch. To combat this, removed content like the Mage Tower and past Brawlers Guild bosses could be reused in the current expansion and leveling to keep it relevant and to keep new players busy, as well as introducing innovative new events and challenges all the time. Now here's the big thing. Blizzard needs to move more back in the direction of linear progression again. Removing catch-up and making progression more linear will increase the sense of progression and accomplishment during the game. Part of what will make Classic a good system is the permanence of rewards. You're always making your character stronger. Even a small reduction in catch-ups would benefit the game and people's motivation. Being behind doesn't matter if everyone has to go through the same process with similar content to progress through. Reducing mid-expansion catch-up systems and removing LFR would go a long way to helping the feeling of progression. LFR kills social interaction and removes incentives for more casual players to play more than a few hours every tier. If Blizzard were to commit more to going back to a linear progression system with all the current activities in the game, there would need to be some restriction of content rewards. Here's just an example of the way they could do this. Making normal and mythic the only raid difficulties, with normal being the main challenge and gear reward, and mythic just being an extra challenge with the best cosmetic rewards as well as minor gear upgrades so people can get their best in slot. Pre-raid gear would come from all sources, such as PvP vendors, quests, and dungeons. Rewards should be proportional to difficulty, with a drop-off after normal raids, to make progression linear for all players and without a huge power creep. This gives player agency, because you can choose what to do and still get rewarded for it. The flowchart here shows one way progression could work in a patch, with a choice of doing whatever activity you want, all the way through, and being able to do the same harder activities after you have raid gear too, for the greater cosmetics and challenge. It's not too different from what we have now, but it adds in a real sense of progression. Needing to do the raid for the best gear makes milestones in people's progression, and means players experience the whole expansion better. The modern scaling progression means content can be as hard as it needs to be, and the modern dungeon design and other activities such as the Mage Tower challenges can all be used to make a fun gearing experience of doing whatever you like, instead of having to grind endlessly for meagre rewards. Artifact power. It's a bad system, because of it making people feel forced to play for a temporary power gain that doesn't change their gameplay. If the system had endpoints or milestones with real rewards that did affect their gameplay, it would help. While the Legion Legendary system's RNG was bad, it did mean that playing any type of content didn't feel like wasted time, because you were always walking towards your legendaries, so a system where you earned a range of materials for forging legendaries could be a solution to both issues. These are just my thoughts, and I'm sure other people could do better, but the first step is for Blizzard to listen to their community. Currently, the only motivator to do content is to get gear that will effectively reset at the start of the next patch, only every few months, creating a greater feel of an endless grind with no milestones ever reached. The success of Classic shows people like hard-earned accomplishment throughout a game's lifetime. Alts don't need to have a hard time in this system either. If you've already completed the raid on normal, the drop chances in all easy content for alts could be increased. If less content was removed patch to patch and expansion to expansion, there would be more for everyone to play. Why were the good parts of Legion like artifact abilities removed, and the bad parts like the artifact power grind kept? Traits that gave thought in your gameplay were replaced by complete passives. If a game is fun and rewarding, people will play even if they don't have to. Encourage people to play, don't force them through systems. Another major complaint players have is the story. Blizzard is good at developing large epic stories, and this needs to be focused on. The story can be developed in multiple theatres at once, and a focus on making events lead into each other. Unlike in recent expansions, where events seem to happen out of nowhere, with bizarre character motivations. Put more of the story into the gameplay as well as the cinematics. We play for the game, not for a movie. And don't forget about characters after a patch. For example, Tyrande's motivations have been everywhere from Legion to the end of BFA. Take tips from long fantasy series rather than individual stories. Show the player what is happening over Azeroth instead of telling them. That's all for that really. Ideally, boosts in gold selling would be removed and Master Loot added back too, but can't have everything. If the game is good, people will want to play, and not play because of a feeling of duty to a grind. Hope this video wasn't too ranty. Thank you all for listening and see you next time.